Richard Ramirez was a serial killer, a serial murderer in Los Angeles in the 80s, who self-identified as a Satanist, and he was a follower of my father's. And he's somebody that, the present-day Church of Satan wants to pretend there was no connection to. But here's the thing: as I was beginning to represent the Church of Satan on a broader level, in a broader spectrum, and there were some things that began developing in me, and those were realizations that if you are a real religion, you can't pick and choose who is drawn to that religion. I mean, there are Christian murderers too, but each Christian denomination can't just close shop and say, well, you can't join, because if you are a true religion, you can't have that kind of selectivity. Religion is something bigger. Religion isn't a private club, right? So then that brought to mind philosophical questions, like well, what is the meaning of it? What purpose does a religion serve, actually, then, to the community? And if we are supposed to be this kind of anti-religion or a counter-religion, what purpose does that serve, and to who? And so it's just a religion of Anton LaVey's personal friends? Well, then that's not a religion, right? But he had different tiers. He had like his inner circle, and then he had his circle of friends who in fact were outside of the Church of Satan, people that he liked to feel like he could have a kind of Machiavellian, and also Rasputin, the Russian monk Rasputin. He was also very influenced by him. So these were kind of role models for him that he felt that he, through knowing people in influential circles, whether it was in the entertainment field or other fields, that that he could have some sort of influence over them in some way, in their decision making, things like that. But then he had the laity of the Church of Satan, which of course, because he was so in his youth, he was very influenced by the carny life, So the laity is what we always referred to as the rubes. Those were the paying customers. The laity were, to quote my father, he would say, they're the stuffing in the mattress. They're what pay the bills.
Are you tired of being held back by one-size-fits-all healthcare? Of having your concerns dismissed or being denied that comprehensive lab work you need to truly understand your health? I want to tell you about Merrick Health, the premier health optimization platform that's revolutionizing how we approach wellness and longevity. What sets Merrick apart isn't just their cutting-edge diagnostic labs or concierge health coaching, it's their commitment to treating you as an individual. Their expert clinical team stays at the forefront of medical research, creates personalized, evidence-based protocols that evolve with you. Unlike other services that rely on cookie-cutter solutions, Merrick Health goes the extra mile. They consider your unique lifestyle, blood work, and goals to craft recommendations that actually work for you, whether that's through lifestyle modifications, supplementation, or prescription treatments. And with a remarkable 4.9 out of 5 rating on Trustpilot, you know you're in great hands. The best part is you can get 10% off your order today. Just head to merrickhealth.com and use code Peterson at checkout. That's merrickhealth.com, code Peterson for 10% off. Stop guessing and start optimizing your health today with Merrick Health, because your best life starts with your best health.
Right. So that carnival association is extremely interesting. So I'm a real, what would you call, aficionado of the early Disney classic animated movies. And I've spent a lot of time, for example, lecturing about it, walking through the story of Pinocchio. And there's a lot of mysteries in that animated movie, which is about the attempts of someone striving forward to free themselves from the invisible strings that control them, right? Because Pinocchio's a marionette and he's trying to become a real person. Well, the first temptation that he encounters, this took me a long time to figure out. The first temptation he encounters is to become an actor. Like, he gets picked up by the coachman, this Italian character, who's a traveling carny, and he's put on the stage as a puppet, right? And the Italian carnival director claims that he's going to make him a star, but imprisons him, essentially. And it took me a long time to understand. I thought, well, this is so strange because this is a Hollywood movie, and yet actor is put in an extraordinarily negative light. And I thought, actor. And then it seems obvious in retrospect, but it wasn't to begin with, that, well, it's a parody of accomplishment, right? To be an actor is to have all of the what would you call the trappings of the real thing,
well,
but
that's
not to do any of the work. Exactly. It's a persona. And there's not, well, and you said, you're tilting continually towards a description of your father essentially as a carnival barker. And you said, for example, that when you were trying to work through some of the deeper philosophical implications of the accusations that were coming your family's way, his insistence constantly was to play up his association with high-level celebrities, right? And to become, so, I mean, so the actor issue is, it's a continuation of the great game idea. So you say, well, there's a sucker born every minute. It's perfectly reasonable and even right to prey on the gullible because they deserve it. But then there's a deeper justification underneath that, which is something like, well, everything is a great show anyways, right? There's nothing real. That's kind of the postmodern element. There's nothing real. Everyone who's successful isn't successful because they've actually contributed something real. They're successful because their act worked. And so I might as well have an act. And your father was obviously, I mean, with the carnival surround, that really becomes tangible, because a carnival is all about taking a break from the duties and responsibilities of life and celebrating the orgiastic and the odd and the lustful and the base, and there's an attraction of that carnival barker who's often represented in literary symbology as a, what would you say, an invitation to the satanic realm, right? That's why you see in Stephen King, for example, and Ray Bradbury, it's very, very, or in movies that use the trope, let's say, of the serial killer, is often terrible things are going on behind the scenes in a carnival, right? It's a place of dark magic. And so your father obviously was part of that world. And is it safe to say that he believed that it was all a great show and that he was staging a theater? Okay, yeah.
Here's the thing, is I believe that in the beginning, he really believed that he would, I think that he really believed that so-called normal society, straight society, normal, regular middle-class society, that they were corrupt in their way. So I'm sure he had some early life experiences. I'm sure he had early life experiences that disillusioned him and caused him to take a dim view of society and the double standards and the corruption and things like this. But here's the thing. A lot of people get that too. But not everybody thinks, well, then I'm going to take revenge, and I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do one up on that. And so, but I think in the beginning, with the help of my mother, I must say, because my mother, don't forget, was 50% of the development of the Church of Satan as well. And she had her own personality, and she had her own, makeup from her past and her family and things like that. So, and she very often was like a balance to him, but sometimes she was also someone who was pushing him from behind the scenes too. Go further, and setting, she was his PR agent. She was the administrator of the whole, she built up the Church of Satan in the administrative sense. So if my father had not had my mother, who was young and naive and really looked up to him when she first met him and admired his talent, his creative abilities, and he was a raconteur, he could talk for hours and hours. And so she didn't mind taking the behind the scenes position of doing all the work.